YouTube and Facebook. We are happy to be back again. Busy weeks. We certainly hope that's true for you guys too. And we hope you're healthy. We welcome you back. We're coming to you live. You know that already. Most of the time on Tuesday, sometimes on Wednesday. And rarely do we come to you live on a Thursday. So it's already the event, I think.
Or any day.
Or any day.
Effectively, like today.
Welcome here. Again, this will not surprise you like most of the time. I do have the pleasure. I don't even know why or how I earned that. Maybe I don't, but we have the super generous, good-looking, sexiest man alive here, Patrick Trumpy, coming to you live from Zurich. And Patrick, welcome. And then also we have our good friend.
Pleasure, Max. Once again, I actually got a bit jealous when I saw that you have done some series without me. I saw some stuff.
Yeah, you know how that works. It will never become a series if it's without.
Yeah.
How could it?
That's cute.
Yeah, and then we do have this fine gentleman here, Abdou. And this is interesting. You're like, guys, we're trying to give you practice, right? Perspective. And we're trying to give you stuff that is really, really, really relevant for you, which is what a coincidence, right? What a great match with our topic here. We don't want to educate you. We don't want to talk about theory. We want to give you everything we know. It may be imperfect. It may be unperfectionist, but it's what we really do every day. It works. And we hope it helps you. Welcome to the Sales Made Live Smarter Growth podcast. Put your questions in the chat below. We will be more than happy to answer it. Even if you're not tuned in live, we are monitoring the script, the role, the Elder Scrolls here. And we will get back to you definitely. Also, if you want to have like a strategy discussion, 30 minutes, you feel uncertain about anything, you can just drop a comment below. We'll pick you up and get you on board. Today, I do have the pleasure to talk with Abdou and with Patrick about the topic relevance, the art and science of breaking through the fog. Right? Your ship horn.
That's very well put.
What is the wave you need to use? What do you need to tune in to break through to that customer? And welcome.
Thanks, Max. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Max.
Rewards from you guys.
It's once again a pleasure. I mean, you know that we are very humbled to be here with the biggest, the god of sales of Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely talking about you, Max.
He's right there. Once again, a pleasure, and a pleasure to talk. I mean, even about the topic of relevance, you want to talk to us. We are very happy and humbled to do that with you today. Now, what do you understand about what's your understanding of relevancy anyway, Max?
That's a great question. We can directly throw to Abdou, the quarterback.
You want me to define relevance?
Yeah.
All right. First off, I think it's a very interesting topic. I think it's underestimated the importance of relevance in your messaging, in your offering, in the whole way you present, you communicate with your audience. And I would define relevance. I think what we're talking about is a way to communicate or produce something that's actually important to the recipients or to the customers. That's how I would define relevance in terms of business. Yeah.
I like it because it's the quality or state of being closely connected or appropriate. I just looked it up.
What a great idea, right?
Well done. I like it, Abdou. I like it.
Yeah, that was like the last resort sentence at the end was like in business. So yeah.
Good one. Good one.
Yeah, and we picked it as a topic because it's broad. It's connected to everything, right? Everything we talked about in the 10 Commandments, everything we do in our day-to-day lives, not even professionally, right? I mean, everything we do when we communicate. This is like the hidden key to the kingdom, right? That's
Yes,
why.
can you explain to us, Max, what today is about? Is it about how to be relevant? Is it about what role relevancy plays in general in the sales cycle? Is it something else? Can you elaborate on that? What's your thought?
Yeah, so today we want to talk about relevance as a topic, and we want to look at your guys' experience. Like, how do you deal with it? Everything you just said, right? How do you become relevant? How do you stay relevant? How do you know you're relevant? How do you make sure you become relevant? What is the role of this aspect in your sales cycle? All the way until the point where you say, like, okay, that's beautiful. How do you operationalize it, right? I mean, and that is something very interesting. I know that if I look at us here, we are doing the things that we're doing over again, over and over and over again, right? You're working with one company, you're founding a company, you have a customer you work with, you do it over and over and over and over again. And is it a fair assumption to guesstimate that
Yes,
there is a
guesstimate
pattern?
that.
And if there is a pattern, that you probably have recognized some of that. And so what, out of all of these perspectives and learnings and experiences, what are some maybe of the tips, some of the things that we can share out of our practical experience? So maybe if you start something new tomorrow, right? Or if you enter, if you enter Larry for the first time, and you don't know anything about the market and the product, how do you start and how do you make sure it's relevant? Patrick.
Was it for Patrick?
This is for me. Wow. Thank you. So I would suggest, first of all, what we need to understand to understand whether what we do is relevant or not is we need to get some opinions, right? We need some opinions of experts in the field we are planning to solve a problem, or we're planning to solve a problem or get to some results. So we know we're looking into some field where we make assumptions about a problem or some improvements we can do. So we have these assumptions in mind and maybe already certain solution in mind how we can solve this problem. Now, my suggestion would be there are beautiful solutions out there that helps. I actually did that just recently with 2 business ideas. There is a tool called Card, CARRD.co, that I built a very easy website and put down the idea, put down the assumptions, the why, the how, the what, and then just get some feedback in. First from your 10 closest friends or to 10 experts in the field, maybe. I mean, you see people on LinkedIn, experts on LinkedIn, get their feedback, point them to your website, to a very easy website. You don't need to put in too many hours at the beginning, I think, to first make a first evaluation of the idea, of the relevancy of your problem, right? So you can actually get some feedback, an easy website, get some feedback first from maybe 10 people, make adjustments to the website, and you don't need to have a product yet. Doesn't matter. Like just get feedback, and maybe depends on what product you plan to do, and then maybe send out a few campaigns to a few people, 50 or 100 people you don't know, and direct them to your website. Get a survey button on the website and just ask people, what do you think about this? Would you make use of that? Does that solve a problem of yours, and so on? So that's actually one approach that I learned from a few friends of mine over at innohack.com. They do that with big brands, like Rivella, for instance. Rivella wants to start a new drink, and they built the website. They built not only the website, but they also built the brand, basically. One is called mindu.ch. If you go on the website, that's a very easy build website, mendu.ch, with this tool that I just mentioned. And so what they do is it seems like that exists, right? If you're looking on the website, you think like this thing exists, but it doesn't. It's all made up, and they just get feedback. You can give feedback on the website, and you can say, hey, yes, I want to try this, actually. And they really did get a lot of feedback. Hey, I want to try it, and orders already, but at the end they have to say, we don't have this yet, guys, but thank you for your feedback, and here's maybe a t-shirt or something. But that's one way. I think is a really smart these days. We have tools, technologies that we can use to really test our ideas, test the relevancy of the idea we have. Get out there early. That's, I think, that's to sum it up. Get out early and get feedback of the people. Don't spend too much time building whatever you do, whatever you have in mind about your assumption. Test your assumption first. I think that's one thing that I learned the past 2 or 3 years that makes a lot of sense first. I'm not sure, guys, what do you think? What do you think about that?
So you're saying one way of knowing, making sure you're relevant is not trying to be, in terms of not trying to be right, not trying to make it up. Go out there and test, get feedback.
Yes. No assumptions. I learned this from you. Remember, Max, like 5 years ago? No assumptions. Then you're also relevant with what you say. You don't assume something. So that's a big
I think
one.
Michael's original term, Michael and Mahan's original term is no guessing, right?
Yes, no guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, helped me a lot once I understood it.
Yeah.
The smarter you are, the more you want to guess to prove how smart you are. That's where it breaks. Abdou, what's your perspective?
I think I share Patrick's opinion in this. Just don't try to outsmart the market. Don't try to figure it out for them. Just let them help you build it, or help you define it. Because actually it goes a little bit further, in my opinion, than just the initial landing page or the initial offer you're creating. I think it goes further than that. It starts with the idea and trying to identify a market at all. And now we're talking about like building from scratch, but nearly everything I read and I consume business related, let's say books and blogs and newsletters, at the end of the day, you could break most of them down to this single sentence, and it's: how do you manage to become relevant or stay relevant for your audience? And there's like a lot of frameworks to try to engineer that relevancy. When we talk about the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, the mom test, those are all designed to just get you to the point where you have some kind of, let's call it, message market fit. And I mean, that's just another way of saying being relevant for the market. You found a message that's relevant for your market. That's the message market fit. And the product market fit is you build something relevant for your market. So you figured it out. You know what people care about, and you know how to deliver on that. So I mean, it's the same thing as Patrick said, but I would just go one step further and say it's nearly everything we do in business is trying to get closer to that relevant, let's call it, sweet spot. Yeah.
I like that. Maybe Max, you can elaborate on something that comes to mind when you say this is the nailing the niche topic. That's also one of the big ones in that.
Yeah, and it's amazing how these things are interconnected, right? And
Yes.
the funny thing for me is that's the one thing we don't control, right? Or at least it's one big thing we don't control is whether we are relevant or not. It's something that only the guy on the other side of the screen can decide. And they do
Absolutely.
so like subliminally, right? They do so automatically. If we're relevant or we're not relevant, and it's something they don't even think about. And I like this idea, Abdou, that you're saying, like the mom's test in terms of, is the communication we're using, is that simple enough? Like I typed a LinkedIn post last week around the irresistible offer topic, and I put it through a machine that will tell you a complexity score.
Is it the Hemingway app?
I have to look it up. But
Okay.
the idea is that this machine will judge like the level of the how many years of school education you need to understand the text. And anything above 5 is bad. So if you write for people who are like beyond 5th grade, it's bad. Even if you're talking to founders, even if you're talking to entrepreneurs, like the likely you're getting them in a situation like this where they are just getting on the train, swiping on their phone, and now you enter with your message, and it's a complex message. You don't get them, right. So I like the idea that the level of clarity, simplicity, that is also connected and will have an impact. It's an economic thing, right? We need to in marketing and sales, we need to get customers to that well-informed decision. And whenever we lose them, it's not only bad for us, right? It may be bad for them too.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So how do you stay relevant? How do you become relevant even has a lot to do with testing, being open, opening up, and so forth. Get out there early. I learned a lot already. And a question for me would be, then once you know, right? And we're at the beginning of the funnel now. You have tested and so forth. How do you create that dog whistle? How do you send exactly the message that will appeal to an audience? How do you do that, Abdou?
Yeah. I would like to start the answering this question with a disclaimer, because there's always this awkward spot after you think you nailed it, where you discover that actually it was relevant for your like early adopters, or a very specific kind of audience, and a very small one that's all like knows what it's about, likes adapting to new things, is a great fan of innovation, and so they're not really representative for a market. It's just them. They're like their own segment. But if we ignore the fact that you have to adapt your message afterwards, then I would say that becoming relevant is a trial and error process that implies some educated guesses. But at the end of the day, as long as you're assuming, there's a very high chance that you're just putting out wild guesses. So ways to measure it, for example, are if you're actually doing advertising, then it's maybe click-through rate, means from 100% out of your defined audience, how many of them click on your ad. Something else in email marketing, for example, if you do cold outreach, could be your opening rate. If that goes up with the more experience you get and the more people you talk to, you see that the experiences you're collecting while talking to your audience is actually helping you crafting better subject lines for your emails. And afterwards, after the opening rate, it's maybe the click-through rate of your email campaign or the meeting booked rate if you're in outreach mode, and so on. I mean, I don't know how deep you want to go into this. But I think you get the idea. It's like there's different metrics that show you, okay, 100 people get that email. If 40 open it and 20 reply, then you're basically nailing it. And if no one's interested, it shows in your opening rate of less than 10%.
So more testing.
Exactly.
Patrick.
Yeah, that was actually also my question. So you would test, you would use different messages and test what messages, like, again, even though you have a product, try this message market. What's the best message to go out? And how do you find out what message it is? Is there a way to do this?
Like finding out what message is performing the best.
Yes.
Like what's your best? Yeah, I think there's different ways to do that. To different approaches to get as close to the optimal message as possible. I mean, it starts with the lingo, knowing how your audience actually communicates. I mean, here in Switzerland, in the German part of Switzerland, we all speak Swiss German, but it depends on who you're talking to. There's going to be a lot of English words in their natural German language, and there are others that use a lot of buzzwords. And so it starts with the language. Like, can you communicate in a way that they know you know them, and you may most probably understand them if you know how they communicate. And the next step would be, yeah, sorry.
Do you have an example, Abdou, of two different types, different personas that you would use a completely different kind of message?
Yes. For example, if you're, let's say you're targeting insurance companies and you're selling a very technical product. Now, I know I'm on very thin ice right now at Patrick. But you're selling a very technical product, and depending on who's on the other side, who's on the receiving side of your messaging, let's say you're sending an email. Depending on if you send it to the marketer, for example, or to the CMO, it has to be crafted completely different than if you're talking to the chief technical officer. Or maybe you could even address the two of them in a pretty similar way, because if you're a CTO at let's say Helsana, maybe you're not that technical anymore in the details. But if you would write to the chief architecture officer or head of architecture, for example, that would be someone that would need a completely different message than your chief marketing officer or the head of sales at this company. So, I guess it depends on the background of your recipients. It depends on their understanding of the product or the problems you're solving, and their view on the product. I mean, the marketing guy is definitely gonna have other benefits and other pains related to the problem you solve than the CTO, for example.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And if I understand correctly, you're saying we had okay, how do you become relevant? The answer is we're testing. Then how do you know what is the exact message we need to use? The answer is we're testing. So, and I also understand that. Apart from the thing that Patrick said earlier, where we test, different landing pages and so forth, and look at the data, you said something that goes more into the lines of try to immerse with the customer, right? Enter their island, if you will, enter their realm, get into their domain, get involved, listen to them, talk to them. Is that something that is, I mean, as technical as this growth hacking marketing discipline is that something you would encourage to do?
Me?
Yeah, both of you.
I think it's a mix of. I think I didn't put enough emphasis on the other side of the whole thing. It's like actually talking to your audience. I mean, yeah, let's imagine we start tomorrow. We start reaching out to different types of audiences and start optimizing that message for them. I mean, at some point we get to have a conversation with one of them. And in that conversation, it's about getting to know them better. And your learnings from your conversations will be like translated in better, more relevant communication towards them, more relevant headlines, more relevant content, a more relevant offering. And I think that's the circle of relevance.
Mm-hmm.
The circle of relevance. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The words of fortune. In the word.
Absolutely.
Cool. Patrick. So here's the practice alert. Mark. How do you put that to practice? I mean, actually, when you put it to practice, what do I see? I look over your shoulder. What do I see?
Probably a few books. Do you? Yeah.
A few books. Yeah, but I'm looking from the other side, right? I want to see your workspace. On the day you start this relevance thing, how does your workspace look? What do you do first? What do you do second? How do you craft the message?
Paul. Yeah. So we talked about the start. That, I mean, we already talked about the start, didn't we? So
yeah.
you build. So we are at, where are we now? When you start?
Yeah, you bring that landing page up, you test. Now you have maybe different versions of your message you wanna use, right? And we don't know where to use the messaging, right? Do we podcast it into Clubhouse, or do we type it into Twitter, or do we YouTube it out there through TikTok and then download it with Excel? I don't even know how we play things out here, right? So I'm super curious. I understand that we need to create some verbatim, right? Some basic amount of messaging so we can test. We can also immerse with customers so we can maybe use less, have a higher probability of success. And now you have that first idea, and your future customer is still on the other side of the internet. What do you do?
Yeah, good question. I first think about it in the following way. You have your ideal customer profile. So you have a persona that you want to target. We haven't said, I guess, well, we were implying basically B2B, but I wasn't sure if we said, because you also mentioned now TikTok and Instagram and maybe all these tools, they are more B2C related, at least in my brain, in my mind. But so I'd go about
email and LinkedIn then.
It depends. Now it depends. I'd go about figuring out on a scale where you are as a company. On the very right, you have a company, a product that fits 50 companies in the whole world. But obviously you can, 50 companies, but you can sell like 3 million per company, which still is 150 million for a first market. It's a very reasonable amount, and it's still worth to pursuing an idea. I think it's good to have a very small and niche market because you're going to be more successful. But let's imagine you only have like 50 companies that you can target. On the other hand, on the other end of the scale, you have a product that may, either an SME product, small and medium enterprises, or even a B2C product. And there, the expertise of Abdou comes in. He is probably better in this. On the left side of the scale, I'm more on the right side on the scale. So on the left side, you have a customer base from, let's say, 10 millions, right? 10 million potential customers, of whom all could pay $100 a year, something like this. It's still also 100 million, right? But a completely different market, a completely different product, obviously. So we have that scale. Now you have to find yourself first. Where am I? What is my product? Do I have 1,000 or do I have 10,000 or do I have 50,000? So that's the first thing I think about. Now I have this, I have my number. Let's say I go with 2,000 and I have a specific department of a specific industry in Europe or even in Switzerland. So 2,000 potential customers. Now I think about, where do I find those 2,000 people? The easiest way. How can I get them the easiest way? Imagine if you had a group on LinkedIn, all of those are active. I'd go in this group and post stuff, right? That would be one way I could do, but that rarely exists. It rarely exists that as few as 1,000 people, you can get their attention with marketing activities. It's usually with a smaller number. I don't know where the limit is. Maybe Abdou, you have also some opinion on this, but the smaller your reachable market, the easier you can target it with mass mailing, mass mailing, cold calling probably, but let's think about mass mailing first. So mass mailing, talking about Europe, is still working in Europe really well. You can get open and you can get booking rates of 10 to 15%, and we usually have reply rates of about 70%. So imagine if you target 500 people and get 400 replies. That's amazing, no? So you will know if you reached message market, or even already like one step further, product market fit. You will learn that really quickly. And you can send out, thanks to technology these days. So we're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator and Interseller and Salesforce at the end. And with those 3 tools, you can target 400 people within 4 hours. As easy as is. No tricks. And so if you have a group you find on LinkedIn, it's small, I'd suggest definitely to go with cold emailing first in Europe. It works extremely well. Now, if you are on the other end, if you have like 50,000 or 100,000 or 10 million potential customers, probably, I'm not sure, Abdou, I guess that's more your like marketing activity field. You probably would go about, it's probably the better way to make target advertisement on LinkedIn, to even, I don't know, Instagram, or use some other, maybe you have some suggestions what are good ways these days to use to reach as many people as possible and get as many feedbacks as possible.
I mean, yeah, in my experience, it's just, me and Markus, me and Max talked about potential messaging for the one episode you guys did on, what was it? Where you said, don't scale the fail.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get stuck with a idea, and especially if you're doing like social media or just push marketing, digital push marketing towards a big audience. Then it's very easy to get stuck with the idea that your ad is working, it's good, it just didn't reach the right part of the audience you defined yet, and fall to the illusion that all these people you're targeting, they're just cogs waiting to flow through your funnel and end up as a customer.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to avoid that, then I would always try and make sure your message fits your market. So from this side of the spectrum, of like 50, your target audience consists of 50 members or 50 people, to let's say 10 million. I would say on this end of the scale, there's a very high competition, it's very likely that people are doing a better job of being relevant. And there's something else that comes into that you have to account for. It's timing. At this end of the scale, it's very hard to identify where in the, let's say, bias journey your the people you're targeting are right now. And at the other side, it's like you can actually talk to them. You can just find out what are indicators for one of my 50 target accounts is ready for the next step, or is about to buy at a competitor's firm, or is about to take a competitor's offer. So I really appreciate like people that are able to define a market and keep chipping away, like keep saying, okay, we're still looking for that one segment that we're willing to work with and that are most likely that we're most likely to be relevant for. So if you meet people that say my target market consists of 50 companies, it means that they probably did their homework. And if people in Switzerland tell you my target, the potential market is 1 million people in Switzerland because it's everyone between, 20 and 24, then yeah, they're just very comfortable in their targeting. And if you don't do your homework in advance, you're just going to pay the price with it. Not being relevant means higher CPM, means higher cost per 1,000 people of your market reached, lower click-through rates. You're just going to pay the price for it afterwards.
And that's interesting because people should know their numbers. And so what does that mean? And if you're in marketing and you're battling in a very dense space, right? You're, like you said earlier, you battling for attention, actually, which is something you can directly translate into euros. If you look up in Google, what are people searching for? You can also see what the click costs. Then you can move around a little, and sometimes you can drop your cost per click and everything. So what is the whole idea? You're investing into that conversation until you come to a point where the customer makes a decision. And if it's the more steps it has, and it will have a lot of steps in Europe because we are running under GDPR, right? So data protection, data self-determination and everything, you will have a lot of steps. And if your message is like just half as good, it may easily break your business, right?
Absolutely.
So, and you also say like, bear with the niche, right? Be sharp if you can. And just live through that, even if after 2 weeks you feel like, message doesn't work, maybe it's the wrong market. So you need to sail through that uncertainty, if I understand correctly. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, and I mean, for me, it's probably easy to say because, I'm, for example, the founder of my own agency. And so this means I'm already probably a little bit more risk, how's that called? More prone to risk, more risk friendly. But I think people, especially in marketing, bigger audiences, should get comfortable with the idea of doors closing. I mean, that's just something people are struggling with, like always trying to keep all doors open. I mean, yeah, if I specify my message to be very specific to this audience, then this guy and these people will all not be interested anymore. But the truth is, if you try to be interesting or relevant for everyone, just means, you're actually talking to no one.
Yeah. You hunt the 2 rabbits, you will catch none of them. Patrick, you wanted to add something earlier, right?
Yeah, I like it. I like you're challenging this up to this. I have a huge audience. now that you are, and I'm interested in this field that you are in right now in online shops, for instance, would you say that even applies to something like an online shop where, Amazon thinks, I don't know, I don't actually know what they do, but and what they think, maybe they think everybody should use Amazon, or do even they have a very targeted audience they go to?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. That's a perfect setup. um, that's something I wanted to say today, anyways. So it's just when you what's always underestimated is what are the businesses we're looking at today. What have they been doing in their very early stages? And Amazon wasn't doing all the things it does now. It's able to do that because of having been able to be relevant again and again, and then make enough money to be able to start doing R&D in different markets and start moving in that in that whole platform market. And for example, and the important thing is that at the beginning they weren't doing everything they do right now. So when it's about growth, when it's about growing, it's very important to be very specific in whose problem you're solving, what problem you're solving, and who you're solving it for. Because for example, Amazon right now, they could, if they would manage to enter the Swiss market, they would cause trouble for a very big chunk of the e-commerce industry here. But it's not what they did in their stages, in their early stages. Yeah. So try focusing your services, your market, your message towards focus determines your probability of success.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
I love this. So what you're saying, sorry, Max, I just give over to you afterwards, just thinking, what you're saying is you can't take a huge company as an example and saying they try to target everything, because in the past, to become where they are now, they did exactly this. And now they can afford to seem to target everyone because that's where they are now. But that's not the way they grew. And in the growth phase, you need to focus on a niche. And I think we know other examples, right? From there's a good book we are talking about right now, Crossing the Chasm, or I have actually no idea how this word is spelled. But there's another beautiful example in their Documentum. They targeted, I think, a very broad market first. Like they said, all the companies above 500 employees. That's not really, as you just said, right? That's not like saying everyone between 20 and 24 years old is our target market. Might not be that smart, and they weren't successful at all. Didn't grow for 3 years, and then they changed to regulatory affairs specialists in pharmaceutical companies from 500 plus employees.
Oh, yeah.
So 8 million potential revenue from this market. It doesn't sound much, right? So it's scary at the beginning. It's scary because you think like, oh no, we're gonna lose out on so much that we could get otherwise. But as you just said, you can grow within. They did get the market in 12 months actually. When they started until they got all the 8 million, they did get that. I think even in the first 18 or 12 months, really, really quickly. And then they could start in another one. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have gotten like 8 millions out of this huge market they otherwise would have. So beautiful example.
So that's a great. I think that's a great a jump over to my next practical check here. So just imagine we have done the testing, we have created the message, we have selected a niche, even though it hurts, even though we are afraid to let go, to like Abdou said, to have the doors close on us. So now we're sharp, and all of a sudden it happens, right? Your phone starts to vibrate. The lead is coming in, right? So most now we're close to handing it over to sales, right? or if you like the one-man sales army, you're now switching gears. You're changing the head. Now you are in the sales role, like. And
Yeah.
most salespeople I know, and I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of them. They are like super afraid. They would like to bring the expert, because now we're in the domain, right? I mean, we entered the customer's realm. Now we're in their wording. We're in their world, but we typically don't have the experience. Now, how do you stay relevant, even though customers start asking questions and you're not as firm in the topic as you maybe want to be? How do you stay relevant, guys?
So first off, I mean, it's gonna be easier to know what you're talking about if you define the niche that you specialize in, because I think that's probably a nightmare of mine. Like, imagine having every day your phone ring 5 times. It's always someone you're interested in doing business with you, but you don't know what they do. You don't know where they're at. You don't know the size of their company, and yeah, and you don't know what their pains are. So every time you have to pick up and start from zero and try and get as much information as possible out of your phone call, and afterwards deliver a high converting offering.
Okay.
That's a nightmare. I mean, it's much easier to just not just much easier. It's feasible. It makes it even possible to close on a regular basis without having all that headache. If there's some kind of experience that you can build up on with every interaction you have with people out of your audience. I mean, I'm not that experienced in the whole discovery call thing. I learned that from Patrick, actually. Maybe you want to add something.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you. So the more you understand and the easier the use case is, actually, it can go this way. What you said, like you don't now starting from the start, starting again. What I do recommend, certainly, to, in the first call, not just start talking and as we said at the beginning, guessing. I mean, there is a reason why the other person took the call, and if you start with the question, "Hey, what's the reason you take this call?" You already have a good discussion you can go into and dig deeper and find out what problem, as you just said, what problem the person has, and especially what urgency the problem has. So if you just go into the problem and forget about the impact of the problem, you're probably not going to hear whether it's urgent or not. But what I stress is definitely do your duty on discovery calls. For sure, every single time I recommend this. That's how you stay relevant with what you say afterwards. So I have a rule in my company about this: never ever say something as a salesperson that you're not sure is relevant to that person. Now, there are certainly environments. Imagine a one use case company, a company that only covers one use case, is in one specific industry for one specific persona. The discovery is going to be quite easy for this, because there's only one use case and discovery is short. Or you even can start making assumptions and say, "Hey, look, this is the problem we solve with our customers. Do you experience this as well?" Something like that, and it becomes more and more. You can bring in your knowledge about the industry more and more, but still, I think I feel most comfortable when I don't just say stuff that I am not. When I say stuff that I'm not sure whether the other person needs to hear this. I feel uncomfortable when I do this, and irrelevant, especially. I'm not sure if this is relevant, so I feel uncomfortable about this in general.
And that's a good sign. And most people, that's very funny. I mean, this is like super practical, right? But we're taking it from theory to practice, so maybe this is welcome and helpful. I know this feeling all too well because, like, I'm an engineer and I was trying to prove all the time how smart I really am. So, and I didn't do that for myself, but I didn't do it obviously to not feel the rejection, right? And a lot of salespeople and experts go into customer appointments and they really feel bad. They are afraid. They don't want to get the rejection and everything. So, what I had to learn is when you feel that uncertainty coming from you being irrelevant, the best next thing you can do is not talk faster and talk louder. It's ask the fucking question you wrote down before the appointment. Excuse my French, right? And that saved my life so many times.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, and that is, I needed to get that into my head and into my system, right? Can you really just ask questions? Will people not think you're like stupid or like an agent, a Soviet agent or something, or FBI, right? The rooms get smaller, the lights get brighter. So, and the point is, that is actually something I learned from Chris Voss in his legendary masterclass. You can survive a whole dinner party by just repeating the last 3 words you hear from people and add a question mark. Add a question mark? Yeah. Because if you repeat the last 3 words you hear and add a question mark, people think you're super interested. Super interested? Yeah. Because now you're like, there's a dialogue. So, and there's not a dialogue, right? And I like what you also said earlier, Patrick. You have that conversation with a sharp niche for the first time. Like you're doing apps and you're talking to logistics companies, right? Maybe you're totally blank. You will be prepared, hopefully, but you're pretty blank in the first conversation. Now that changes after you had 3 conversations, and people tell you what's going on, and they're losing pallets, and they have so much stuff on paper, and then it rains, and then nobody knows what happened, where the stuff actually is, and so forth. And you hear that 3 times. Now in the 4th conversation, your question will be like, "How do you feel when it rains?" Right?
Yeah.
And that is how you become a domain expert. And by expert, people don't expect you to be smarter than they are about their business. They expect you to be a little prepared. They expect some sensitivity because that's good for them.
Mm-hmm.
The more you listen, the more you can make proposals that truly fit their whatever it is, situation, their current challenge, where they are going. You become that vehicle of change because now you're not talking random stuff towards them. Right, you're not counting down the features and the products and your price list, and then you also have the digitalization expert they can buy. So that is like being relevant. Sometimes is just trying to not be irrelevant. It's a strategy that is good enough a lot of the time.
Yeah. I have one little disclaimer here, actually, and I experienced that again yesterday.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer for discovery. The discovery disclaimer, basically. When do you not do discovery? And for those salespeople out there who do sales all day, it does happen. So at some point, and I had a meeting yesterday that was way too high in the level that we usually talk, because the software that we sell is like for an insurance company of, let's say, 5 to 10,000 people, it costs maybe 50,000. And our approach was to ask the CEO who is responsible for this topic within his company. And it works really well. So when you don't find the people on LinkedIn, and there are certain people who are not on LinkedIn, right? That's still the case. In Germany, maybe 20 to 30% of the people. So we use the approach to ask the CEO, hey, this is the topic, who is responsible? And funny enough, the CEO wanted to talk himself with us. And And he also started in a way. So guys, now tell me about what you have, and afterwards I tell you about my problems. And so that's actually how he started it. But in any way, I don't have a discovery ready. I mean, there is sometimes no point to have a discovery with someone who doesn't is in the daily business of what problems you solve. So if I'd ask the CEO the questions I would ask to a general counsel or to a head of legal and compliance, he wouldn't be able to answer the questions. He would need to say, well, you need to ask my head of compliance and my GC. I don't know. I don't know the answer. And we don't really have the CEO is in almost no way our stakeholder when it comes to such companies that are bigger than 500 employees. The CEO is just no stakeholder or no beneficiary of our product. And 50,000 for a CEO is like, I'm not even going to spend a minute on this. And so if you have this, and it happens with when you are too high in the hierarchy, or there are a lot of innovation and digitalization teams in companies that are looking for projects and that are looking into stuff and help their departments to make evaluations, and they look at things and say, well, yeah, this is the right person to talk, then it could actually make more sense to also have a quick pitch and tell them the pressing problems you're solving and that you want to discover, and to tell them what people you need to talk to discover this, and then you get to the right people. But there are these moments that actually doesn't make sense to ask your questions because they don't have the answer to these. And that's when you have to shout out first sometimes, I guess. At least maybe maybe you guys have a better approach there, but that's what I experienced with a lot of innovation and when I was too high in hierarchy. I mean, it was a fun talk. And yesterday the CEO did state a challenge afterwards that I didn't get. I had no clue what he wanted to say, really, like zero. That wasn't in my area. But I didn't understand it. I really didn't understand what he wanted what his problem was. Well, not much, I'd say. But he still stated it, so it's actually. But anyway, that's irrelevant. But yeah, so when you have people that can help you to find the right person, but they're not the right people to ask you to find out whether you have a problem or a challenge or you can a pain or a gain, then there is you can shout out your pitch in 3 minutes. Maybe, yeah, that's just a very long disclaimer. Sorry, that was too long.
It was very interesting.
It's an interesting piece. Because it will occur in the journey when you start meeting people, right? When we leave the marketing space and we start talking to people, there is this myth, the urban legend of that elevator pitch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you sit in front of a few salespeople, like maybe even 120, and so you raise the hand and say, like, who wants to do their elevator pitch? Guess how many hands go up?
Everyone, because that's so easy to do an elevator.
Exactly.
pitch.
They know exactly what to say, when to say it. Everybody's blown away. When you do your elevator pitch on a party, you become the center of the party immediately. Everybody wants to right?
Yes. And
Yeah,
why is this, Max? Why is this? Because that's the only thing that companies teach their employees. It's the easiest thing, right? The elevator.
The mission, the statement, the vision. Yeah, in that other universe, right?
Yeah.
Where we never live. So I never met a single person. Actually, I met one guy who really had all their employees, and they could really do the elevator pitch. And now, what we're teaching our customers is like elevator pitch 3.0. It's more like a 2-sentence, 3-sentence text with space you can fill, right? So it's like, hey, most companies work with us if they want to go from yay or from boo to yay in 90 days or less, right? Especially with complication 1 and complication 2. and if they want to avoid frustration on the way. And now you take like the gain, the pain, the frustration, and everything, and you replace it. And typically you don't replace it with something that is the same for every customer. You replace it with something the customer said. And that is what I think is so funny. It's like tactical empathy on an FBI level that you can use, that will it makes your stuff more relevant, because at the end of the day, you're bringing them the same SharePoint, you're bringing them the same financial software, you're bringing them the same service, right? Pre-installed MacBooks or something you would give any other customer. But they are getting it for a certain result they are trying to achieve. And this is your opportunity to prove that you listen. It's your opportunity to prove that you're interested. It's your opportunity to prove that you have a basic understanding of where they are going.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had a sales pitch, a sales training. We wanted to sell sales training to a startup. Now, I can tell you, I don't believe that anybody on this planet needs a sales training. Right? I mean, why would you? Today it's much more interesting to get like this interdisciplinary stuff, right? Marketing and sales and everything. And we found out that these guys are not interested in increasing revenue. They're not interested in profit. And at some point, you have to check that, and you have to save it for later, so you can stop talking about that revenue and that increased profit they're not looking to get. And they are trying to get more users. They're trying to get more monthly active users. Then that's the game, right? That's the currency. So now I want to use that in my elevator pitch. I want to use it in the offer I'm giving people. I want to use it in the next steps that I'm suggesting, because that's what's counting. That's what makes it relevant for them. And it took me a while to learn, but you don't actually have to be smart. You don't have to have an ego in this game. Sometimes it's really just listening, understanding, clarifying. If you don't understand stuff, just ask, right? And it doesn't make you look stupid, and it doesn't make you look irrelevant. That's really funny. So guys, last step in the process, we're giving people a quote, right? And next step, how do you make that relevant?
You mean the quote? Okay, like the sales quota.
Yeah, you want me to sign something. I'm the customer, right? And you want me to sign on some paper.
Ooh.
So you can do your magic.
You are quick. You are a closer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Patrick's qualified to answer that.
I mean, Max is a closer. He does it after the discovery call. I usually have, I also have so after that you have a demo. You exactly know what you have to show to the customer, right? Because you discovered first, and then you perfectly tell them you show them how you solve the problem, obviously.
A relevant demo.
Sorry?
A very relevant demo.
Yes. Obviously, customized demo, especially for this industry customized demo. You do that. And then you have him. Anyway, nobody could turn that down, could they? No, I mean, it's not that easy, I think. It's still not that easy. Max, we got to go to the irresistible offer very soon again. For this, we have a
the irresistible offer, the myth.
Nice one.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, from my perspective, it's all about appealing to them and giving them stuff that they are actually looking for, right? And you say like you're doing a demo and you're tailoring the demo to their use cases, to like maybe you're starting with the highest priority and not with the first button on the screen, right? And then you can explain, and that is something to me. There's this, there are two worlds actually. There's the implicit world of communication, where you talk about stuff and you show people stuff and you understand what's gonna happen if they use it. but you don't say so because you're like an engineer, you're an expert. It's self-explaining. And maybe you're even afraid of saying it because that would mean that you think they are stupid. That's why you're explaining it to them, while they are so smart that they would have to understand because it's obvious, right? So sometimes we're making stuff pretty complicated and implicit. And the other world is explicit, where whenever you say something, you explain what it means. You explain what people do with it. You explain the result that comes out of that and all the positive effects that come after that. And then you have, like, on your flyer, you have bullets that are pretty long because they never stop at the feature. They never stop at the module. They never stop at the I don't know, the building block that you are giving people. And that's an interesting question. I would hand over to Abdou. Are you explicit when you make the offer? And if you are explicit, do you use what you hear from your customers in that communication?
I think I'm a very bad example in that point.
I think, Max, we want to hear something from you as well.
Yeah.
Do we? I mean, right?
I usually send offers when everything's already clear. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. I totally agree. Yeah,
it's just a formality then. Like the sales quota. Yeah.
There's a point up to where you start making a suggestion, right? Where you start talking about some next step, and that there may be an investment involved, and that there may be like a commitment. They will have to give you details, photos, data, text, whatever. And when you start talking about the stuff that you do or you hand to them, do you explicitly add in your own words or in their words what the effects will be? Explicitly.
Yes, I mean that's basically all we're talking about, because often, yeah, they don't really understand what we do. So there is no point in giving them a digital marketing 101, or a let's say CRM 101, or yeah, it's just we agree on results, on timelines, roadmaps, people that need to be involved, but the decision makers often are, not really interested in the details, as far as I can tell.
Cool.
Maybe we can discuss this further in a second episode, Max, because we have been taking a lot of time of our listeners. If there are any listeners at all still left here, and then after 1.5 hours, it's quite
1 hour 7 minutes. Yeah, and
1 hour 7 minutes.
And I totally agree. So there's something I would like to give people here, and that is this little formula. So whenever you talk to customers at the end of this process, where you know what they are looking to get, you know what they are trying to achieve, you have built the trust already. You have proven to them that you're interested, that you're listening and everything. And in your flyer that is maybe, or on your website that is targeted to that niche, use this formula for every bullet point, right? And whenever you can, say, here's the feature, and the feature may be, I'm giving you 3 days of training. I'm giving you 3 days of training. Now, people will not be blown away by that, because you will have to tell them the 3 days of training will help you make sure that your people are actually doing what you expect them to do, so they can get a positive result that will increase their confidence, that will increase the activity levels, that will then return your investment. Are you getting it? And you will never sound stupid by being explicit, right? And this is like, once you start practicing this, all of a sudden you will do the Simon Sinek thing, and you will start at the end. Like people who want to make sure that their investment returns, and entrepreneurs and founders who love to have full control over their business, they love seeing their people do what they expect from them. So the effect gets bigger. And that's why we do training. right? You can turn it around even, and it becomes more powerful. So I want to give that to people. We have something coming up that will be interesting, I think. It's the episode where we talk about the underrated power of outreach in the marketing universe, in the growth hacking universe, where everybody's trying to like scrape the internet, get the data, automatically send videos to customers and everything. There's this underrated power of one-to-one marketing. And we will have an episode on that. Maybe that's a good next point. Then again, everybody, if you're watching this live, if you're watching this belated, put your questions in the chat, because we are here to answer. And this is your show. This is not our show. This is your show. You can ask everything, especially if it helps you go from the theory that you may have seen somewhere in our channel, somewhere else, to the practice, because that's what we want you to do. Be successful in practice, grow your businesses, create wealth, offer more choices to your family, make the change in the marketplace out there, leave a dent in the universe, and have fun doing it. Any final words, gentlemen?
No, I think that was perfect.
Nail in the coffin.
Punishing. Perfect.
Yeah. It was nice. Thanks. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Abdou, for being here, for taking the time, and once again to Max for organizing this and inviting us.
This is my pleasure, even if Tuesdays become Thursdays. Thanks for being around, guys. Thanks for taking the extra time. Thanks for sharing your perspectives. I'm looking forward to talk soon. In the audience, if you like this, if you want to see more, maybe a condensed version, let us know. Subscribe to this channel here or to the podcast, and drop your comments and questions below. Thanks for watching. Take care over there. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile.
Max from Halifax.
Take care, guys.